What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Q&E Podcast. Here with your boy Q Hicks right now. Got Edgar right beside me. Edgar, tell the people what's good.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Q&E Podcast, where we are wrapping up our Last Dance reviews. These are episodes 9 and 10 that we're going to be talking about. So hopefully you all been keeping up this whole time like we have. And let's dive into it. Let's see what our feelings are on it.
Yes, and if this is your first episode of the Last Dance series, definitely go back, check out the 1 through 8 now, because this is 9 and 10. So definitely check those out before listening to this, because we don't want you to be out of whack, and we want you to hear our thoughts on the other ones as well.
They're real interesting.
Yeah,
Let's see how they ended it.
All right, man. So we first start off, they talk about Reggie Miller and Michael Jordan. That's how we ended it with the episode 8. Episode 9, they start off talking about Malone versus MJ, that rivalry, how they went together in 2 finals, and they was neck and neck and all that. They said Malone was MVP, so gave MJ even more motivation to go at him in the finals. But one interesting story that we got from this was about Brian Russell. And Brian Russell was the shooting guard for the Utah Jazz. And he was a rookie in 1994. And it was a story that they had on Last Dance that and when MJ was retired, Brian Russell went up to MJ at one point and said, "Why'd you quit, man? You know I can guard you, this, that, and the third." And MJ was like, "Hey, come on, man, get this man. Why you talking like this to me, man?" He's like Malone was like, "Yeah, he's just a rookie."
Another situation where talking to MJ before you play the man just goes wrong. Stop He takes any little thing as disrespect. So don't give actual disrespect.
And he already had a reason to go at his neck because of the Malone MVP.
Exactly, bro. So it's like, they're not going to learn. They're just not going to
learn. And it's funny because the theme of last episode was the same thing. Dudes was talking, and that don't need to be talking,
exactly,
bro. That was the theme of last episode.
Not only it's some dudes that just don't need to talk, but it's dudes who don't need to talk at the wrong time at that. Like, just because you up to nothing, that don't mean anything. Y'all seen what Jordan do to the previous people who be up to nothing?
Yeah.
Man, come on, nah. Just wait till you win. Wait till you win it all, and then talk trash. Yeah. At least when it comes to Jordan.
But one story that they did bring up was the flu game. And they basically went through the whole story of saying that it was food poisoning. They said like 5 people came up to the door handing his trainer the pizza. And the trainer said he knew something was fishy. But Jordan still ate the pizza. They said it was food poisoning. Edgar, do you believe this story, man?
I believe that it's food poisoning. I'm gonna let Quincy say what he feel like it is. But I don't believe anymore that it was a flu bothering him. I do, since we got the evidence of food being involved in the situation, I feel like it was something similar to food poisoning, or it actually might have been food poisoning. So that kind of messed my mental up because I always
always thought it was the flu?
I always thought it was the flu. And that just made me think Jordan was so great because it's like, dude playing through the flu. Like, not too many people can do that. Mm-hmm. Like, plus, that goes to show how, like, panicky we are with a lot of stuff now, because you can not have symptoms with coronavirus, but they shut the league down. But we were letting people play with the flu. We were letting Magic Johnson play. I mean, you can't just catch AIDS like that, but we were letting Magic Johnson play with his AIDS and everything. If we let Jordan play with the flu,
but this is the airborne disease though, so it would be different because you can just breathe on somebody.
But like I said, you could be asymptomatic. Like, you can literally be asymptomatic, but with the flu, there is no asymptomatic. If you have the flu, you have the flu. So the fact that we let people play with symptoms like that, I just felt like that was crazy. But it also showed a testament to Jordan's greatness. And also, it messed with me mentally because it's like, I always loved the flu game 12 Jordan shoes. And now to figure out that he didn't really have the flu, it's like, I can't even call those shoes.
But the shoes are still fire.
I can't call them the flu games no more, though. I'll still probably wear them, but I can't call them.
The poisoning 12s?
No, that just sounds terrible.
The poisoning 12.
The poisoning 12.
The poisoning 12.
It still got to be called the flu game, but I'll never look at it.
Bro, all the story was capped, bro. The whole story was capped. MJ texted all his people close to him and said, "Hey, we're going to make up this lie about it was food poisoning." I think we all knew. That's why I'm surprised you still thought it was the flu. Because I thought for a long time, and I feel like the majority feel like he was drunk. He went out the night before and got drunk.
That's possible.
Yeah, that is possible. And that's the story I believe.
You can still get food poisoning, though. Like, just because you're drunk and having a hangover, that don't mean you ain't got food poisoning.
No, I don't think that story happened at all.
But I'm saying, Rodman done played with hangovers a lot. You know what I'm saying?
And we don't know about his story. We never heard his story.
But he still produced and gave.
And Jordan still produced.
So, but if he's saying it's food poisoning, then that's why I believe
Jordan been capping a lot on his whole documentary, though.
He has, but in certain situations, I'm willing to believe him. There's been a lot of cap on this documentary.
I can't, bro.
Take your cap off on that.
That's what I'm saying, bro. He been capping this whole documentary saying he ain't did coke, he ain't did that, he ain't did the coke. Bro.
I ain't gonna say he did coke. I ain't gonna say that.
Oh, he didn't drink, he didn't do weed. Look, MJ was involved with some stuff that he don't want to admit. He don't want himself to look bad.
Which is probably true.
Bro, just admit. Why he can't admit it was a hangover? That's what I don't understand. Because I still believe it was a hangover.
Even if it was a hangover, he could still possibly have had food poisoning. So I'm gonna go with food poisoning. Do I think he had the flu like everybody said at first for the past however many years? No. Now that we got confirmation that it couldn't have really been the flu. But I'm going with food poisoning.
Like I said, Jordan texted all his people, the Tim Grovers, whoever told the story on the doc. He texted, say, "Hey, we making this food poisoning. Hey, call me. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get all the details straight, so everybody can be on the same page." I'm telling you, that's what he did, man. It was really a hangover. That's why he had headaches. He couldn't get right. You know what I'm saying? All the lights was probably bothering him. I'm telling you, all of this went into it, bro. All of it went into it. But let's move on. So Eggert finally got his wish of a Steve Kerr piece in this documentary. Eggert, bro. That's what I'm saying. I thought he wasn't going to get it. But
the respect has been given.
Yes, bro. The second to last episode, Eggert finally got it. Eggert, how did you feel?
I feel like we're giving Steve Kerr a lot of appreciation, at least for the younger generation. They gave a lot of appreciation to Steve Kerr because anybody under the age of 20, for the most part, all they know is Steve Kerr, the coach. They don't know Steve Kerr, the player for college or for the NBA for the most part. And if you have heard his name before, you don't hear much about him. You just know he was on those teams.
Yeah.
But to hear the few minutes that they gave on his backstory and the details about his dad being killed and everything like that, leading up to him playing in the NBA on one of the most memorable championship teams of all time. Because I feel like, what championship team for the Bulls that I feel like the best?
96, you said.
It was 96.
That's 172 and 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite season. So the 97-98 season, I feel like that's still one of the greatest. That's a close number 2 for one of the greatest championship teams ever. Mm-hmm. So letting younger people see him be a part of a legacy like that, I just feel like it's a true respect testament to Steve Kerr.
Yeah, they basically just dove into like him from high school. They say he didn't have a lot of scouts coming out of high school. He only had one offer, and it was really last minute. He didn't know where he was going to go for school. He ended up getting an offer to Arizona. While he was in college, his dad and all his rest of his family went over to Beirut, and there was a lot of controversy going on between Beirut. If you looked American, you were an enemy over in that territory. Right. Obviously, his dad was an American. He was a chairman at American University, so he was obviously on a big platform. He can't hide nowhere. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because he has to go to school or whatever. So Steve Kerr's dad was killed while being a chairman for a university. I think this was 1986.
I ain't remember the year.
Yeah, I want to say it was 1986 because it was before he got to the league. Yeah. It was like while he was in college. So I want to say 86. So you can, you know what I'm saying, check me if I'm wrong. So yeah, after that, they went into Steve Kerr's first couple of years in the NBA. He played for the Suns. He got drafted by the Suns second round. Mm-hmm. And then after that, he went on to play with the Bulls. And they were talking about him and John Paxson. Like John Paxson basically put him under his wing. So how did you feel about that? Especially being that John Paxson was hitting a lot of big shots in the first three-peat for the Jordan and the Bulls. So how did you feel about that mentorship coming from Paxson?
I feel like that was the perfect mentor for Steve Kerr because remember, I think I brought it up on one of the last pods, or we were talking about it off the pod, how he was explaining to Kevin Durant a situation he was in where John Paxson basically told him, like not even told him, like he experienced certain Jordan situations with John Paxson. Mm-hmm. He may not have been on the court, he may have been on the bench at certain points in time, but he was so close to Paxson that he remembered certain stories and was able to witness a lot of things while being on the bench for the time being until he took the place of Paxson as that starting guard. So I feel like that was a great mentor for Steve Kerr to have. It molded him into being the next clutch shot maker for the Bulls, besides Jordan, obviously. You know, Paxson hit several big-time shots throughout his career, even when Jordan left for that certain amount of time and did baseball. So Steve Kerr just getting that clutch mentor to speak into his ear and manifest that into the next one to be beside Jordan. I feel like that was the best mentor.
Yeah, Edgar made the point, and they said it on the pod. It was the perfect mentor at the end of the day. Like, they had the same exact role. Paxson was going to retire at the end of the season. Steve Kerr was going to come into the starting lineup, and he had to be the guy to knock down the shot because he's going to be open. They're going to look at Scottie. They're going to look at MJ. So Steve Kerr, you have to be the one to knock down the shots. And they went on to explain how Steve Kerr hit the game winner against the Jazz in Game 6 of the 97 finals. So all of it ended up paying off at the end of the day is basically what they were trying to get out of it. Because they said before this time, Steve Kerr was not good in the playoffs at all. Yeah. Steve Kerr was not good. Like, he was faltering under the playoffs, but they were still winning despite him. But in this series in 97, they really needed him to step up, and he did hit the game winner and won them a championship.
And I feel like that's just a testament to the fight that he and Michael had at that practice where he pushed Michael and Michael punched him in the face because Steve himself said, hey, I might not be the best player out there. I might not be the quickest. I might not be the most athletic, but I guarantee you I'm one of the players with the most heart on this team.
Exactly.
And it was that heart. It was that physicality. It was that ability to help spread the floor that was able to make up for him not being able to offensively perform that well. Yeah. So I feel like it's all just it's time. Just take your time and your moment gonna come. And I feel like that's when Steve Kerr's moment came, when he was able to start hitting those clutch shots in that 97 season.
Yeah, they said even the series, or this was the season before, but they said the season after against the Pacers, he had another big shot. So 2 years in a row, back-to-back, Steve Kerr really came into his own at the end of the day. And they said he ended up going on to play with the Spurs, and it basically ended up doing the same thing, hitting big shots for that team. And they won the championship in 99 with the Spurs.
Right.
So Steve Kerr is like he won 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody else has won 4 in a row, I don't want to say.
And he won with Pop.
Won with Pop, Duncan, Robinson, all of them. So Steve Kerr, I want to say he's the only person, maybe Bill Russell, but I'm not counting him. But I want to say he's the only person in the modern era to have 4 championships in a row, bro. So that's something to be commended.
That might Magic. No.
Magic had 2 in a row.
Yeah, 2 in a row because he and Larry was going back.
So that's why I said I think Steve Kerr the only one who has 4 in a row, bro. So
Steve Kerr of all players. Kerr. That's what I'm saying. See, we needed that little backstory for Steve Kerr because the younger generation don't know him that well. They see him on the Warriors bench being the coach, and they see the great players that he's coaching. Yeah. They don't know the mindset that he had to build and the championships he won on his own to be able to lead a team like that. So I'm glad the younger generation.
And it's funny, bro, because Steve Kerr was good at every aspect of sports. He was good at playing. He was good at coaching, and he was also a broadcaster before he went into the coaching booth.
Right.
And he was excellent at that. He's on 2K right now, so it's like everything he was involved with when it came to basketball, he was great at, and that can be commended to his hard work as well and his drive and whatever he did, man. So Steve Kerr definitely needed to be commended. So I didn't think Steve Kerr deserved it, but after watching it, it was really appreciated.
I told y'all, man, y'all gonna learn to listen to me. When respect needs to be given, I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
10 years from now, this guy is gonna be like, Chris Middleton was that guy.
All right. Well, we moving on.
He's gonna end up saying,
man.
Give it like 10 years.
We moving on, man.
When 2030 gets here.
Episode 10.
when 2030 gets here, Chris is gonna be like, hey, Chris Middleton was that guy.
What will Chris Middleton be by 2030?
2-time champion.
Okay.
2-time champion.
I still won't be impressed. And was he the reason they won?
No matter what team he's gonna be on a championship contending team. So he's gonna get the rings. You're gonna have no reason to not give him props.
Like I said, 20 points on the court, but is he really there? That's all I'm saying, bro. Is he really there, bro? See, you got me diving into some junk I ain't even want to dive into, bro. All right, bro. So we're gonna move on to. I'm really upset, bro. Let's move on to episode 10. So basically, they just talked about the Jazz this whole episode. They talked about the 97 finals and the 98 finals. They said in 97, the series was tied 1-1. Actually, the Bulls were up 2-1.
I was about to say the
Bulls were up 2-1.
And guess what happened?
Exactly. Go ahead and say it, bro.
This guy, Dennis Rodman.
Legend.
The classic Rod. That's what I call him.
Legend.
A classic Rod moment. Hey, Phil, I'm gonna go to the WWE real quick.
He didn't even tell nobody, bro.
Oh yeah, he didn't even tell nobody.
See,
I gave him too much credit.
Yeah, he just
he
left.
didn't tell nobody. He just left. Like he just what was it? Monday? I don't know if it was Monday Night Raw or something.
Oh yeah, it was WWE. I don't know.
I can't remember if it was Raw or SmackDown, but he went to a WWE matchup one night. I think it was the night before Game 4.
Yeah. Or it was the night after Game 3.
Night after Game 3 or whatever. He went to a WWE match. Don't know why. Like I said, classic Rod.
Bro, he was the person as soon as he was off the clock, Edgar made this point. As soon as he's off the clock, bro,
he's off the clock.
He's off the clock, bro. Ain't no working on basketball. Ain't no grabbing rebounds, letting my people shoot. Nah. I'm off the clock. I'm doing whatever I want, bro. I don't want to hear none of it. I don't want to hear nothing from y'all.
He got to do whatever he wanted to do because he made sure he always did what he needed to do.
Right.
We have never seen a player with this type of attitude or mindset since Rodman. I promise you we haven't. And Quincy was talking about that's because of the influence of social media and just the different mindset that a lot of players have nowadays. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's good that we haven't had another player like that.
I'm saying it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's crazy. I wish I could have been around that time in the locker room. Like, hey, coach, like, you just gonna let him keep leaving like
Can I go too?
Like, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I ain't Rodman, but like, come on now.
I still want to go to the like, why can't I? Yeah, bro, that's definitely crazy, bro. Damn. WWE, bro. 3-1 playoffs. But like you said, this is a good thing.
Classic Rod.
It's a lot of the players nowadays are way more focused, bro. Back then, they was caught up. We were coming out of the cocaine era, so people were still trying to get off that, so they still weren't focused like they are today. People are more focused on their craft than they were back in the day, bro. So I would say that.
Quincy in this cocaine era.
Huh? That's what I said. It was the 80s, bro. We transitioned from the cocaine era. We in the 90s. That was the game, baby. You know what I'm saying? I watch Snowfall. Snowfall time. If you haven't watched Snowfall, bro, watch Snowfall. It tells you a lot about the eras, bro. The 80s was that crack cocaine that was smacking folk. In the 90s, they about to get into the gang war between the Bloods and the Crips, obviously. Season 3 coming up. I'm waiting for it. Snowfall, if anybody from Snowfall is listening to me, hey, we ready for it. Leon, my boy. What's his name? Frank,
Leon, and I can't remember who.
His mama? I didn't even know his mama was played in The Wire, bro. Never knew. I just caught up on The Wire, fantastic show. But his mama was in The Wire, bro. So she dope too. We waiting on it. You watch Snowfall?
I ain't watched. Oh, I thought you was gonna say The Wire. I ain't watched The Wire yet. I've seen some episodes of Snowfall. I like it. I ain't like watch it, but what I've seen, I love the acting. The acting in that show is phenomenal. Like,
bro, did you know that jump was staged, like and recorded in Atlanta?
I knew that.
Oh, you knew that?
I knew that.
I did, bro. I seen Leon when I was in Atlanta. I want to say this was over the summer. Seeing him riding the scooter through Atlanta, bro. Me and Zion had seen him, bro. Dope experience. I seen him and I seen Jared Jack down there. I met Jared Jack.
I heard they was filming in Atlanta, so I automatically assume Tyler Perry Studio. That's automatically what I assume.
I don't know.
It might have been.
Yeah,
it might have been. That man's studio is.
It's big.
I haven't been yet, so I got to experience it for myself. But if you have not been to Tyler Perry's studio yet, please go. If you're a black person, I feel like you should go because that's history. That's literally history living right now in front of our eyes. Yeah. But anybody in general, black, white, it don't matter, Hispanic, whatever, go look at that because it's just amazing to see the studio that man has built and the amount of movies. You could film like 10 movies out there in the same day. Like, I remember it was a video, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy,
Wesley Snipes.
They were all out there on the same day filming different movies. Like, I was like, how the heck? Like, that's crazy.
Bro. Yeah, Tyler Perry Studios definitely dope. But we also, let's move on to the Game 5. The Bulls ended up going up 3-1 after that. Malone had 39 in Game 5, so it was 3-2. In Game 6, Scotty gets injured. So it's looking shaky at this point. We don't know which way it's gonna go. It could go one way, Scotty don't return because this was a serious back injury. It was like a herniated disc type of thing. And Scotty returned, but he wasn't the same. You could tell, like
that lower lumbar.
Yeah, like he was running like this the whole time he was on the court. Like he could barely run up and down the court. But he came back, and it really showed his toughness, bro. I feel like his toughness was questioned a lot throughout this documentary.
It showed his toughness, but this is my thing. We call players soft a lot of times nowadays. We call it almost every player soft nowadays. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it's always them being soft. I do feel like they do have soft moments, but players care about their health way more nowadays than players back then. Like playing with an injured back to where you could almost end your career.
Yeah.
Like people call that quote unquote tough, but it's stupid at the same time because why would you? I get it, you love the game, but come on, man, like playing with a back injury, like no, I just don't feel like that's.
But imagine, but think about the era, like you just said. Think about all the criticism that he would have gotten if he did not return.
I understand. That's what I said. I understand. It's two sides to it. One side is like you don't care about your health. And then the other side, you don't want to be considered soft at the same time.
Yeah, because like I said, he was already being questioned up until this point. And then it was like, oh, he came back. And you could actually see, like, his injury. So even if he went out again, like, you can't complain. Like, especially when you see him running up and down the court. You could tell that he was having a huge problem. But he ended up returning. He had a solid impact. But Jordan had to carry the load while Scottie was off the court getting rehab on that. And they were basically trying to just dive into, like, his mental space at the time. He was saying, this is my last year. I'm really mentally exhausted. This is my last year. And I don't know how I'm going to overcome this if Scottie's not here, my partner.
Right.
So how do you feel like he overcame it throughout this whole game? It was crazy process.
I feel like he was already in the physical condition he needed to be in once he came back from basketball. So I totally agree. Not basketball, but baseball. So I feel like this was all mental, like he said.
Exactly.
This was everything dealing with the fact that we know this is not going to be the same team at all next year. Yeah. And
good point.
This is possibly my last opportunity for myself, not just the team, to win a championship. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm getting older at the same time. So I feel like it was a lot of stuff going through MJ's head, but I don't feel like he was worried at all. I mean, of course he thinks about the pressure, but he was in so many pressured moments on and off the court throughout his career. So I don't feel like MJ seen it as anything to worry about. Remember the movie Glory Road? And
Texas Southwest?
Yeah, and Bobby Hill, I think that was his name. Bobby was it Bobby Hill? It was something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Duke. Derek Luke played him?
Yeah, Derek Luke played him. And they was getting ready to play Duke in the not Duke, but Kentucky in the national championship. And the night before, it was so much pressure on the line, but his teammates asking him, "You cool?" He was laying down like, "It's just another day in the park, bro." Yeah. Like I feel like that was Jordan's mindset. It's just another day. It's just another day on the court. That's all it is.
We need to have a sports movie episode, bro. Glory Road is definitely up there, bro. Glory Road is definitely up there. That movie was fire. How they was getting treated back then in the 60s when they were winning.
That's what I'm saying. All that pressure, and then you got Bobby laying back like it's just another day in the park. I was like, that's a winning mindset. I feel like that's what Jordan had. All that pressure, he thought about it, but it was like, hey, we used to it. That's what we do.
Yeah. And it's funny how this all comes back to Brian Russell at the end of the day. So, like we said at the beginning of the episode, Brian Russell was talking that cash in 1994, talking about why you retired, Jordan. You know I can guard you this, that, and third. And Jordan in 1998 hits the game winner in Game 6 over who else but Brian Russell to win his 6th championship. So
foreshadowing.
Bro. It's crazy how everything comes. It came full circle at the end of the day, bro. That's what happened when you talk cash to Jordan. And that was basically the end of the documentary.
45 ain't 23.
Yeah.
Man, that was low-key true now. 45 ain't 23.
It was. And they lost that series too. So
45 ain't 23.
It was true, bro. So at the end of the documentary, the owner, Reinsdorf, was basically talking like, yeah, this team could have came back. He said he would have, what's the word I'm looking for? Overjudged Krause. Because, you know, Krause was like, Phil Jackson not coming back. I don't care what. If he
would have overruled his decision.
Overruled. That's what I said. Overruled Krause, and Phil Jackson could have came back, and everybody would have came back.
Right.
But this is what he said in hindsight. But Jordan ended up looking at the video, and he was like, "Nah, this wouldn't happen."
Yeah, this wouldn't happen.
Yeah. So
Jerry had too much pull. Exactly. Too much pull. Too much say so. Mm-hmm. Way more than anybody thought he should have had. So.
Yeah, so I agree with Jordan on that one. I don't think they could have came back. Like this was literally the last. Phil was ready to go too, so I don't think Phil would have came back.
Because he already had the feeling that I'm not wanted here, so no reason for me to want to still be here. Let me accept any of these offers that's coming up around the end of the season. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was basically the end of the documentary. And before we dive into the other questions, is this the best documentary that you have ever seen? This is probably one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. I would really have to sit down, and we're not just talking about sports documentaries.
Yeah, I'm talking about documentaries, period.
Yeah. It's definitely up there. I would have to really sit down and look at all the documentaries I've watched. But as of right now, I got it in a top 3 spot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's up there for me because I've seen a lot of documentaries, and probably my favorite one up until this one was the Freedom Riders documentary on PBS that they showed.
Yeah.
I don't forgot when that premiered, but
when I was a jit.
It was when I was a jit, yeah. But it was one of my favorites. Like they talked about the struggle of the Freedom Riders going through the South and all that. So that was probably my favorite documentary up until now. Still a neck and neck. I don't know which one was better, but definitely top 2. So I can see Edgar on that one. And did the Last Dance documentary put any pressure on LeBron to have further success to get to the status of an MJ?
I feel like, first off, I got my LeBron jersey on.
Facts.
I did not do this on purpose.
Yeah, he did. Don't leave the cap. Don't leave the cap.
I just wanted to wear this jersey today. I didn't even really think about the fact that we might be talking about him today. But I feel like LeBron has had pressure on him since the age of 16, and there's always going to be ongoing pressure. There's going to be pressure on this man until his last season in the league. So, of course, I feel like this documentary puts more pressure on him. Do I feel like he'll be affected by the pressure?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I feel like he's dealt with so much other types of pressure that a documentary, no, that's not going to put pressure on him.
Yeah.
Because he deals with the hate. He deals with people loving it to watch him lose. So I don't feel like it's going to affect him. It's probably going to affect the way we talk about him, obviously, but no.
Because before coming into this documentary, we had the conversation of, I feel like a lot of people are going to switch back to that Jordan side of being the GOAT.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people have left the LeBron bandwagon. It's been a lot of back and forth on the TL, so I don't know which way is the consensus or the majority right now.
I don't even think there were a lot of people who sided on LeBron being the GOAT. I feel like it was just more people willing to accept his greatness. But it went from people accepting his greatness to just going back to, nah, he's not even close to MJ. Yeah. People were starting to accept the fact that he could at least be close. But this documentary made people say, no, he's not close anymore. But give it give it to the end of the year. People are going to slowly creep back to, okay, he is kind of close. We were just in the phase during the documentary. So
LeBron going to get one more ring.
LeBron's
going to get one more.
2 or 3, I'm a fan, and I don't think unless he just gets the perfect team and the perfect situation, I don't think it's going to happen. But one more ring, he getting one more.
LeBron's getting one more. So if he ends up with 4 and he still has all the accolades, he's probably going to be the leading scorer in NBA history.
By the time his career over.
Like he's already close. I want to say he's at 34.
All he has to do is average like 23 points. I think,
something slight like that.
For like the next 2 or 3 years, he got to average like 23 points. So he got it.
So he's going to be the leading scorer. He got the assist records. He got the rebound. He has all the stats.
Right.
And with 4 championship rings, you've been to the finals,
4
10 times
MVPs.
at that point? 4 MVPs. It's like, can you really? And a conversation came up was, would you rather be 6-0 in the finals, or would you rather be 6-4 in the finals, getting there 10 times, but winning 6, but you lost 4, or getting there 6 times and winning 6? So what do you rather?
I mean, I would rather have this might sound crazy, but I would rather have the opportunity at least to win 10 times. I get it. Only go 6 times and win all 6, or go 10 times and only win 4.
Yeah.
But you can't turn your nose up at the fact that he's gone like 9 straight years in a row now. Like it's been 8 or 9, I think, years in a row.
9, yeah.
So you can't turn your nose, even if he's lost multiple, you can't turn your nose up at that. You know how hard it is to get to the championship that many times in a row, regardless of whether you win or lose. Like, people love to throw that in LeBron's face.
It's not the argument.
Yeah, like, it's not like, well, he lose more than he win when he get there. I'd rather not go. So you mean to tell me you'd rather not go to the championship just because you're scared you might lose? Like,
and you got to think about the teams he was going up against.
That's what I'm saying,
bro. Going up against the Warriors with KD twice. Those are my 2 losses right there. Then you got the Spurs. Okay, I'll give you the Dallas loss. But
the Dallas loss is the only loss I can honestly say they should have won and didn't. Like, other than that, how can you just look at all his competition and be like, he was supposed to win this, he was supposed to win this? Like, it was up in the air in each finals. So and he performed his ass off every single one. Like, dude was averaging like at least 30 points a game with each game. So like, how the heck? Like, I don't get the debate.
And I don't even like this side of me because I'm not even the biggest LeBron fan, but hanging around this dude, I'm starting to see a lot of LeBron points.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, if people don't have him in the GOAT, like, number 1 spot, that's totally understandable. But you cannot sit here and say he's less than top 3. That's when I feel you're being disrespectful. That's when you're being disrespectful to me. That's when it's disrespectful. Anything lower than number 3, I'm like, no, come on now.
Yeah, anything lower than 2 to me is crazy, bro. Mm-hmm. It's MJ and Bron top 2. I don't care about Magic, Kareem. I don't care about none of that. It got to be your top 2. Got to be Bron and
because people like really sitting here and saying he barely top 10. I've heard people say that before. Like, and it's just haters, bro. It's just haters.
Yeah, I said them trolls.
Anything lower than 3 to me is disrespectful. Yeah. Like, nah, bro, come on now. You can't name that many people better than him. You just can't.
Facts. In the scenario I just gave, I would rather take the 6 for 6 because I'm just the type of dude that likes percentages, and 100% I'll definitely take that. But the thing is with MJ, like, he lost a lot in the Eastern Conference Finals before he ended up breaking into the finals.
Right.
But people don't count that against him.
Because he went 6 times and won each time.
Yeah. So they don't count your Eastern Conference Finals. But if you got to the finals and lost, it's a bigger issue.
They don't count your first round playoff.
Yeah, they don't count the first round in the conference finals. But if you lost in the finals, it's a problem. Like, he counts it against you in LeBron's scenario.
Exactly.
And it's crazy, bro. And one more thing to dive into was, did you feel bad for Scottie Pippen on the portrayal that he had throughout this whole documentary? Because I feel like his reputation went down in a way after seeing the stories about him.
I don't feel bad because what happened, you know. So, and I mean, only the people involved can portray it the way they portrayed it. Everybody on that doc was around him or involved with him, and they were just giving their piece on what they experienced around him, you know. And he gave his piece during the documentary. He said how he felt, and they all said how they felt. How you take the perception from that point is on everybody else. You know what I'm saying? You know, Horace Grant saying all the weird stuff he was saying on MJ being a snitch, or the documentary only revolving around him. It's like, dude, like, it was, you can't blame people for thinking that because it does revolve around MJ.
We came into this documentary saying that this was the MJ doc.
Yeah,
we didn't say this was the Bulls doc. We didn't say that at all.
So I don't feel sorry for Scottie for being portrayed how he was, because it happened how it happened. And Horace Grant just needs to stop crying because, bro, you were an important player for the time that you were there, but after you left, it wasn't about you no more. So how you gonna complain about it being an MJ doc when you weren't even there for all the championships? They gave you your camera time. They gave you your documentary pieces. Go on about your day.
Yeah, bro. He was definitely doing way too much. I don't feel bad for Scottie at all, though.
Me neither.
I don't feel bad for Scottie. Like I said, it happened how it happened. And I look at Scottie the same. Even after watching all this, I feel the same about Scottie.
I feel like the respect. I feel like, if anything, he got more respect now than what he was getting before the doc came out.
I don't know about that one where he sat out that one play.
But still, like, learning how underpaid he was and, like, how big of a contributor he was to that team. Like, I feel like a lot of people just see him as Robin to Michael's Batman. But now you respect him to the point where, okay, he might have been Robin, but he damn near could have been Batman if he needed to be. Yeah. So I feel like people respect him a lot more in that sense after watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are your takeaways from the documentary? What are the takeaways that you got from this documentary?
Takeaways that I got were, first off, it was everything I expected it to be.
Better than I expected it to be, honestly.
There's going to be pressure put on Bron. We just spoke on that. So that was 2. 3, this just laid out a foundation of the next era documentaries that we're going to see, because they're already talking about doing a Lakers doc. We've already said before, I don't feel they need to do a Kobe doc on his last 2 years. That's a pointless documentary. Just do a doc on the Lakers dynasty of them winning the championships they won. And I feel like within the next 3 to 4 years, that'll be a perfect time to do that, because you'll be at a point where that's like, about 10, 15 years past over 10, about 15 years past the time that they won their championships. Yeah. So I feel like that's a good time to do a Lakers doc.
I feel like they can talk about that 3-peat one with the Lakers where it was Shaq and them. And you can get Shaq on, and Shaq can talk about Kobe and can talk about their beef or whatever, and talk about that time throughout that 3-peat era, and don't go past that. I don't want y'all talking about what happened after that, because Kobe ain't here to say his piece on those other couple of championships that he won. Exactly. But talk about the 3-peat. So you can bring back Byron Scott. You can bring back all the people from that team, the Ron Harper's. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Karl Malone's was on that team for one point. So it's like you can bring those people back and get their perspective.
Rick Fox.
Rick Fox. That's what I was thinking of. Rick Fox. You can bring those people back as well, get their opinion on that 99 through 01 run.
Fox. Rick Fox. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about.
Actor extraordinaire.
And after a Lakers doc, I don't feel like we need a Bron doc at least 10, 15 years down the line. That's when we need one because, like Quincy was saying a couple weeks ago, we've all seen all of this. Like, we're seeing it now. We don't need a documentary to tell us what we've been watching for the past couple years. But like 10, 15 years down the line, yes, I am somebody who believes we do need a Warriors documentary. We do.
In the future.
In the future, yes. No time soon.
In the future.
Like, we really do need one because that 4 to 5 years, that was a real controversial time in the NBA because Steph changed the game dramatically. KD with his move there, the battle against LeBron and all that, like that's a good era to do a documentary on.
I don't mind seeing that. I'm really excited for this Redeem Team documentary. That's the one I really want to see. So the one D-Wade producing, when I know D-Wade gonna make himself look excellent, that's the one I want to see. Bro. I miss that man. I want him back in. But let's talk about that because they said by next month they should be playing games, and a lot of states are starting to open up, saying that states can play games next month. I think Texas was one, Arizona was one. So how do you feel about that, and do you expect it to be played next month?
As far as like the NBA season?
NBA or I think MLB started.
Yeah, MLB about to start opening up too.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel like we're at a point now where we have to just slowly transition back into normal life. We can't be scared and quarantine to the point because coronavirus ain't going nowhere. It's not like we're going to just get a cure and it's just never going to come back. It's always going to be around. We just have to get to the point where we adjust our lives to where we can live comfortably with it around still. So I feel like slowly opening stuff back up, no fans. I'm a big advocate for players using the fans as motivation.
Exactly.
But we're at a point now where you can't have it your way with everything. So opening arenas back up, playing games with no fans, practicing with little to no people there, I feel like that's just the step that we have to take for progress to be able to get fans. We're not just going to be able to jump right back to having fans. We're going to have to try and play without fans for a minute to see how that works. And I think Adam Silver even said recently, if we start bringing fans back or if we just start having games back in general and somebody gets the virus, we can't afford to just shut everything down.
Yeah, they said they got a whole procedure now.
Yeah, we got a whole procedure for that now. There is no shutting everything down again anymore. So
yeah, fact.
I totally agree with that. I love the way Adam Silver handled that situation.
But that is something that I'm really excited to see, how the games will be played with no fans, because the fans bring a lot of energy to the games, especially when you're not really motivated like you should be. Like, the fans really get you into the game, get you wanting to play. So for the basketball, for the football, for the baseball, when you get so much energy from the fans, it's like, man, what is it going to look like without
You know what they could do? Players could give their playlist to the arena DJ. You can have a playlist of songs playing while you playing during the game.
That ain't the fans.
It ain't the fans, but it's a good substitute for considering what type of situation we in. Like, I don't want nobody playing in silence with just the announcer.
I heard they were gonna play what is that? Replacement like crowd music. So they're gonna have like crowd noise going on in the background, like on the TV. That's what I heard they're gonna do.
I'd rather just have playlists of songs. I'd rather be listening to my favorite artists and it feel like a pickup game back at home or something, and they're just hearing fake crowd noise. Like, no.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing now. I heard they're like when it's on TV, it's gonna be fake background noise. So it's gonna be interesting to see, man, how everything gets played out. But I really have no takeaways on the documentary. It was one of the best I've seen. One of the most moving. It got me feeling the way, got me updated on how MJ went through everything in his career. Really got me to be a MJ fan in a way, man, when I really never seen him. So I got to see a lot about him. So I'm happy this documentary came out. And the way they formatted this documentary, bro, how it was like they went back in time and then they kept cutting back to 98. And then they went back in time and it eventually ended up coinciding. Yeah, bro. Great documentary. So whoever made this, I forgot his name. Jason Meher.
Yeah, but the last name throws me off.
Yeah, Jason, something like that. Whoever made the documentary, man. Great documentary, man. You should be commended for it. And I hope you're making future ESPN films, bro. This was definitely great. And, yeah. Any last words before we get out of here?
No. You said everything.
All right, man. Appreciate y'all for listening. Edgar, get into the social media.
You can follow us on social media at Q&E Podcast 1 on Twitter. And on Instagram, you can follow us at Q_N_E_podcast. You can follow and like our Facebook page, Q&E Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, hit that notification bell, and make sure it's under all so that way you get all notifications. Make sure to email us at QANDEpodcast@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, concerns, or inquiries that you would like to address us with, please feel free to do so. And we are also a part of Blue Collar Media Group. Feel free to go to that website, check out any other podcast platforms, and feel free to read any articles that are on there. I'll be writing some soon. Quincy, I think, will be writing some as well. So feel free to check out any of our work on there on that website. And all right, I think that's all the
MTMV too.
Oh yeah, MTMV. We are now part of their platform as well. Christian Ernest. No, I was saying platform.
Okay, yeah.
A Christian based podcast platform. Ernest is the leader of that, so feel free to check out them as well on Twitter at MTMV. I believe that's what it is.
MTMV Sports. Yeah.
MTMV Sports. Feel free to check out their platform as well. All of their writers and podcast performers as well.
Yes. And to check us out on Twitter, look me up at Q_H3. Follow Edgar at EdgarMartin97 and follow his IG at EdgarMartinOfficial. Subscribe to all our podcast platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. We are there. He already said the email, and I think that's it, man. We appreciate y'all for listening. This is the end of The Last Dance, bro. It was definitely a great watch.
It was a beautiful day.
Beautiful watch, man. We look forward to doing more entertainment, films and documentaries and stuff like that with y'all in the future, man. So thank y'all for listening. We out. Peace.